Hello everyone and welcome to Journey with the Kellers. My name is Amanda Keller and today we're going to talk about my daughter's trip to London that I helped her plan, which was an awesome trip for her but a little nerve-wracking for me. She's been back now for about a week and things have kind of gotten back into routine, and so I'm kind of over my anxiety of the trip and feel like I can talk about it the way it should be talked about instead of adding my anxiety to it, which may have made it seem like a bad trip when it wasn't. So if you watched my last video, my middle daughter out of the 5 kids that I have turned 18 at the end of February, and she had decided that once she turned 18 she wanted to take a trip to London, and she wanted to take a trip to London by herself. Now we're a little bit leery because she does have problems with anxiety, but we planned the trip and got it set up, and of course, unbeknownst to me, I'm the one that ended up with probably more anxiety than her, although I didn't really tell her that. So if you watched the last video also before she left for this trip, we did the Harry Potter experience in Chicago, and that was a fun experience. And if you watch the video before this one, you'll be able to see what all was involved in that. Because she was leaving from Chicago, we decided to just make it kind of like a day trip to Chicago, and we had a pretty good time doing that. So she was leaving from O'Hare Airport, and of course we live in Central Illinois, so it's about a 3-hour trip to get there for us. But we wanted to make sure that she did a nonstop flight so that she wouldn't have to worry about trying to catch another plane in a different airport and everything else, just trying to keep the anxiety levels for her as low as we could. So we dropped her off at the airport around 2 o'clock. It was probably a little bit after 2 by the time we got her bag checked and said goodbye. And of course, we can't go through security with her. So then she had to be on her own once it was time for her to go through security and stuff. Kind of nerve-wracking for her. Her plane was supposed to leave at 5 o'clock and got delayed. And said didn't leave until a little bit after 7 p.m. at night. So she had to sit for quite a while and wait for the plane. And then once they were finally getting boarded, it took forever and she couldn't find anywhere to put her bag. But she finally got taken off a little bit after 7 o'clock that night. She did try to sleep a little bit on the plane, I guess, but didn't get much sleep. For me, the plane ride is horrible because I couldn't contact her. I couldn't do anything because her phone is on airplane mode. So it was very nerve-wracking for me not to be able to be in contact with my child, especially when this was like her first time of going anywhere on her own. She did land though. She got there I think it was like around 9 a.m. their time in the morning, which would have been 3 a.m. our time. And she did finally text me around about 4 a.m. to let me know she had landed and everything was okay. So she landed on Sunday morning. Because the hotels there are pretty much like the ones in the United States that you can't check in until 3 or 4 in the afternoon. I wanted to make sure that she had something to do while she was waiting to be able to get into her hotel. So we arranged a tour, and the tour guide came and picked her up at the airport and took her with her bags on a tour of the city. She said she got to see almost everything she wanted to see just on that tour. They went through Chinatown, they went to Soho, they saw many of the big attractions, and he just took her kind of everywhere all over the city and helped her get a little bit more of a good perception of where things were in the city and things like that. And then he dropped her off at her hotel about 4 o'clock. Now, by this time, she had probably been up for almost 2 days. She said she maybe got about 2 hours of sleep on the plane. So she was very tired, and she said she felt very dirty. She needed a shower and stuff. So once she got back to the hotel, she got some dinner and then, took a shower, and she went to bed early because she had an early morning on Monday morning. So as far for her, she had a couple other places that she wanted to go besides London. One, she wanted to do the Harry Potter tour at Warner Brothers, which is about, I think it was like a 2-hour trip from London. Maybe it was an hour. And then she also wanted to go see the city of Bath and the Cotswolds and a few other things. So we planned tours for those that were basically she'd ride a bus to go see those things. That way she didn't have to worry about trying to figure out the train system or anything else, which if she had to do that, she probably would have skipped it just because her anxiety probably would have gotten in the way. So the next morning when she got up, she had to meet them. I think she said at 10 in the morning to go to the Harry Potter thing. She got on a bus and drove out. They drove her out there. And then she did like a 3-hour tour of the Harry Potter thing. Now, I guess the Harry Potter thing is more of like, kind of like a backstage approach to things. Like it had a lot of the costumes that they wore and some of the props and things like that. And though it was interesting, they did have like a show of when the twins set off the fireworks inside of the great hall. So they kind of did like a show of that. But she honestly said it was kind of boring for her because she had already seen most of this stuff. Of course, we had already been to Universal Studios and been to Harry Potter there, which is basically Hogsmeade and Diagon Alley. And she just, it was, it's got rides and stuff in it. So to her, she said it was a little boring. It was neat to see. She loved the dragon that had been on Gringotts Bank. She loved that the most, and the show from the twins. But she said for her, it was a little bit boring. I guess if you're not really into the whole museum-y type thing, it probably would be a little bit boring. And so then they got back on the bus and went back, and it dropped her off, and then she had to get back to her hotel from there. So she had quite fun that day, even though she said she was a little bit bored. Some of it was really cool, some of it not for her. But, she got to see the Harry Potter thing, so that was the main thing. So her next day, we kind of left it a little bit open. She was going to the British Museum, which is a big museum over there. And I expected that she would go to the British Museum and she would be there for a few hours. It's a pretty good sized museum. It ended up she didn't. She texted me our time. I was getting up at 5 a.m. and she had already texted me and said that she had left and was going to be there and had sent me a couple pictures already. And so she went to the British Museum. I really didn't get a whole lot of pictures from her of the British Museum, just a couple of like the entrance and a few other things. And she was in and out of there within like an hour to an hour and a half. She was sending me pictures of other things outside of the museum, like Trafalgar Square and things like that. So she said the only part she liked of the museum, there was like an Egyptian display there. And she said, but it was really crowded. There was a bunch of kids. There must have been some kind of school trip or something going on. And she said she almost had like a panic attack, so she had to get out of there. But she said it was pretty, but again, it was a museum. And, for her, at 18, museums just aren't that interesting unless there's something there that you're really interested in seeing. So she said, again, she was a little bit bored with it. And that's fine, but she did say they did have some really cool stuff in it. But man, she went through it so fast. I'm like, are you sure you saw everything? Because usually, like when I go to the bigger museums, especially up in Chicago and stuff, it takes hours. It's a while. But I guess she just kind of walked through and went and saw the things that she wanted to see. And then that was it. So that's fine. So she spent that day, and then she walked around a little bit around where the museum was and took some more pictures of some of the things and got to see some of the stuff that maybe they just drove through on the tour of the first day, or drove by on the tour of the first day, that she could actually get up and see a little bit closer. And so she sent me some pictures of that. So that was her second day. So that was on Monday. That was her third day. I'm sorry. That was on Tuesday. So then on Wednesday was her big tour. So she was going to be leaving at like 7 a.m. She would go to, first go to Stonehenge, then to Bath, and then they were supposed to make a trip up to the Cotswolds, and then come down from the Cotswolds and go, I think they went through Oxford and stuff. I don't think they stopped. They were just supposed to drive through. So she got to the bus in time. She was a little bit worried about whether or not she'd be able to get up and make it to the bus in time, but she did get there in time. And then they made it to Bath, or they went to Stonehenge first. And she said that, it's all roped off now. You can't actually walk through the stones anymore. So she said, and it was really cold that day, and it had snowed a little bit. So the weather was bad. So she said, I just got off the bus. I walked up to him. I took a couple of pictures in front of him, and I walked back to the bus. So, but the one place that she really, really wanted to go was to Bath, and she wanted to go to the actual baths, the Roman baths. And I guess when she read the tour, I didn't set this tour up. I let her pick out her tours that she wanted to do. And I guess she didn't realize that it said that the baths would be extra money. She's a little bit stingy with money. So even though she wanted to do this trip, she was still really, really kind of money pinching when she was on it. Me, I would have went all out. I would, I wouldn't have cared. I would have spent what I wanted to spend. But she penny pinched, which is, good and not so good. I'm not really sure that on a London trip is a good time to penny pinch, but so once she got to Bath, she found out that she actually had to pay extra to get into the Roman baths, and she decided that she wasn't going to pay the extra to go see it. So she ended up just kind of walking around the little town and did a little bit of shopping and got some lunch, and that was about it. So she said, I told her she should have just paid to go into the baths, but she was worried about her debit card not working. She had it a couple times in London where it hadn't worked at certain places, so she was worried that it wouldn't work for that. And so that kind of made her really nervous about doing too many things because of her debit card. And she wouldn't go to an ATM and get cash out. She's a little bit stubborn, but that's okay. So they went to Bath and she walked around there. They were there for, I think, like 2 hours or so. And then when they left Bath, they were supposed to be heading to the Cotswolds. Now, unfortunately, something happened with the bus where the windshield wiper stopped working and it was raining. So they had to pull over to the side. And because of that, they told them they weren't going to be able to stop in the Cotswolds, which was her second place that she really wanted to see. I think they did drive through them. But not like the part, it was just like the actual like little city part, not like the really pretty countryside part or whatever that she was expecting to get to see. So that was a little disappointing, but by this time, I think it was in the afternoon. And she said her anxiety was getting really bad. So she was okay with not stopping at the Cotswolds, that she was trying to, I guess, kind of keep herself together at this point. Which I felt bad, but there wasn't anything I could do about it. Maybe she probably should have picked out a lot shorter tour, or maybe separated it out into 2 different tours or something. But, she got through it. So that's all that mattered. So they ended up stopping at, I think it's called Avon on the Green or something like that. It's for where Shakespeare lived, and it did end up stopping there. And she said they went on about Shakespeare and was telling you stuff about Shakespeare. And she said it was boring. I wasn't interested in that. And so, a lot of the stuff that dealt with tours and history and all that, it really ended up not being her thing. And that's kind of common. A lot of the trips that she's went on with us usually involve some kind of amusement park while we were there. So, I tried to make sure whenever we do vacations that there's something that everybody likes to do. So there's always been something fun and all of that, even if it's mixed in with some things that are not fun and they're able to tolerate it. And this was just a full day of just basically history or walking around in towns and stuff and shopping. And so it didn't end up being as fun as she thought. But like I said, I think she should have gotten tickets to the Roman bath so that she could go see them. But, too late. But anyways, so once they left there, then it was just a drive back through. I think they went by Oxford. I don't think they stopped. And then it was getting back to actual London. Now, by the time they got back to London, and I think it was like 7 or 8 o'clock at night there. And so she had to get a cab and wait for the cab to come and pick her up and take her back to her hotel. And then, of course, she got a little bit of dinner and then went to bed. So like I said, kind of mixed reactions. I think some of it, her anxiety was kind of getting in the way. So it was a little bit less enjoyable because, she was in a situation with a bunch of people, and things were happening that were not under her control, and that probably set her anxiety off a little bit more. So I don't think it was necessary that it was so much as a boring trip as that it was anxiety ridden, and so it was making it hard for her to cope with it. But she got through it and she did it, and she's glad she did it. She got some great pictures, and she did get to see Bath like she wanted to, and didn't really get to see the Cotswolds, but she got to drive through them. So the next day, we had planned on her doing some of the other museums. So she had a couple of museums that she wanted to go to. The British Museum was the first one, and it was kind of off by itself. It wasn't by the other museums, but all of the other museums that she wanted to see were kind of clustered together I don't know if you've ever been to Chicago, but they kind of have like the museum lane or whatever is what I call it. It's like a road where the museums are and a lot of the touristy attraction things are up there. And this was kind of the same thing. They were all kind of around in this one area. So the next day she started out by going to the History Museum. And of course she kind of flew through that one too. It was very quick. And then she left there and she went to the Victoria and Albert Museum, which they call the V&A Museum. She was really excited about that because she really likes Queen Victoria and Albert. For some reason, it's one of the things of history that she does like, though there's not too much, she's not a huge history buff, but she really does like the stuff about Victoria and Albert. And so she went to that, but I guess it was basically a lot of just displays and stuff, and she kind of went through it, and it was a small museum. It wasn't very big. And so she just kind of went through that quickly. She said she was a little bit disappointed. She was hoping it would be, I'm not sure what she was hoping it would be, to be honest. To me, they're dead and passed away, so it could only be history. But yeah, so she was a little bit disappointed in that museum. And then the next one was the Science Museum, which she spent the longest time in. I think she was actually in that one for a couple of hours, and she said it really had some cool things. She took some pictures of dialects from Doctor Who and a few other things. And then, so she actually went through that one. She said there was interactive stuff to do in there and all kinds of stuff. So she actually really liked the Science Museum. And she took all kinds of pictures of like aircraft and stuff for her dad, who likes space stuff and all of that. And there was some space things in there. So that one she actually really liked. Now, all of the museums in London were free, which is totally awesome because you pay it's like $25 a person to go to like one of the big museums in Chicago. But all of the London museums were free, but she did get online before she left and reserved a time to go in, and you could get like a ticket just in case they were busy. I think because she was there during like the off season for tourism, that it wasn't very busy and she got into the museums very quickly. So she really enjoyed the Science Museum, and the other two were okay for her. So the next day was just kind of left open. She did want some time where she could just walk around and do what she wanted and look at some things. She didn't really want to be scheduled every single day. So she decided on Thursday that would be her, basically like her open day, where she could come and go or stay in the hotel or do whatever she wanted. She did end up going out and walking around a little bit. She wanted to go buy a stuffed corgi. So she went and bought a stuffed corgi. And then on her way back, I guess some gentleman tried to talk to her, and it freaked her out a little bit. And she said she ran away from him, and then pretty much went to her hotel. And that, of course, kind of set her anxiety off. So I was FaceTiming with her, and, she kind of stayed in her hotel a little bit after she had done that little exploration. So the next day was kind of the same thing. So the last 3 days that she was there, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, we didn't have actual like plans. Like, it wasn't scheduled. She had ideas of things that she wanted to do. And so she also, because she had been at the Harry Potter thing, I guess they had wands there that were really cool that they only carry there at that Harry Potter experience. And she wanted to buy one, but she was afraid it wouldn't fit in her luggage. So she found out she could order them online and have them shipped. So she did. She ordered her a Harry Potter wand that has a phoenix head on it. It's really cool looking, and she just had it shipped to her house instead of packing it in her bag. So then she just did a little bit more exploring on Friday, and went and walked around. She was saying on Thursday that she was actually ready to come home, that she had seen most of the stuff that she wanted to do. And I told her, well, you can look in to see, how much it would cost if you changed your plane ticket to like Saturday or something. I said that would be up to you. I'm sure there probably would be a fee. But she's like, no, I want to go to the Borough Market on Saturday. And, so I'm going to stay and get it through, which I was pretty proud of her because, usually with her anxiety kind of ramping up and down, I'm really glad that she fought it and she stuck with what she was going to do. So Friday she just did a little bit more wandering around of the city, and of course, took tons and tons of pictures. She was constantly sending me pictures the whole time she was over there, which I would disperse out to our family members and stuff. So she had a good time doing that. So on Saturday was the Borough Market. I'm not really sure why she wanted to go to the Borough Market. I guess some people had told her that it's really cool. It was basically kind of like the fancier food side of stuff, which unfortunately we just really aren't into that kind of food, I guess. Maybe it's because that's not how we were raised, or maybe we just don't have the taste buds for it. But anytime we've really tried like the fancier food, we really don't like it. I guess we're just kind of an American middle class food eating family. We like cheeseburgers and pizza and things like that. So she went to the Borough Market, and she said it was okay, but it was a lot of like cheese and wine and stuff like that. She did think about trying to buy some wine and put it in her bag and bring it back with her. And I said, well, the problem would be with that is, yes, London may let you buy the wine, but I'm not sure what would happen in the airport when you got here, because you're not 21 and you can't transport alcohol in the United States. So most likely they would confiscate it anyways, because she's not old enough to have it. So she was like, oh yeah, that's probably true. She thought about trying alcohol while she was there. She's never drank before. I think maybe she's had like a taste of something, from us having wine every once in a while, but we don't have alcohol in the house usually. And neither me or my husband drink, because if there's a lot of alcoholism in the family, we've tried to stay away from it. But she had thought about trying some, since she can actually have it over there, but she was a little too afraid to try something like that when she's in a strange place. So she said, no, I'm not going to do that. I would be worried that, something would happen or whatever. So, which was totally fine. So, she did go to the Borough Market, and of course, again, walked around that part of the city again and took some pictures. We had set it up so that she would take cabs back and forth for any place far away, just because I didn't want to have to try to figure out the train system there. She probably could figure it out if she really looked into it, but I figured with everything, bombarding her already with all these new stuff going on, with her anxiety, probably trying to figure out which train she needed to take it at what time and everything else, and then figure out how to get off, it was going to be too much. So she basically had an app on her phone for calling a cab, but most of the time she ended up just walking back to her hotel or walking to the place. She walked an hour home one time, or back to the hotel, not home, but she walked an hour back to the hotel one time. But a lot of the time when she was there, it was really cold. And all she took was a jacket, and she bought a set of hat and gloves at the Harry Potter thing, and she had a Harry Potter scarf from Universal that she took with her, but she mainly just tried to wear sweatshirts and a jacket, which was probably not a good idea, but I couldn't talk her into taking her coat because she doesn't like wearing them. So there was a lot of rain and stuff there while she was there too, but she got through it. She got to see everything she wanted to see. She had a good time. Now, before she had left, she was talking like she thought she would like London enough that maybe she would try to get a job there and move out there. And that was part of what this vacation was about. She wanted to find out, I told her, before you just make a decision to move out of the country and go to London, and get a job there, you need to make sure that you like it. So when, before she came back, she said, I do like London, but not enough to move away. She said, I really like being close to you guys. And this is my daughter that says she wants to travel. She wanted to travel. She wanted to go to London. She wanted to go to Paris. She wanted to do Ireland and all these things. And basically, London was like her test drive to see if she could do it. Once she came back, she said, though, she liked London, and she, is glad that she did it because she really wanted to see it. She really doesn't think she likes travel. So I don't know, is that because her anxiety just got too ramped up and it's her anxiety talking, or does she really not like travel? She says for now that if she does go anywhere, she'll stay in the United States, but she doesn't think she's going to travel anywhere for a while. I think that'll change, especially as she gets a little bit older, and also if she, gets a good friend who will go with her, or a significant other, whether that's boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, partner, whatever, maybe she'll be willing to travel a little bit more if she has like a companion or somebody to go with her. She says she doesn't like traveling with her family anymore, that we're irritating. Of course, she's 18. Of course, we're irritating. But that's fine. But she is allowed to travel with us if she wants. She just has to help pay for it now since she's 18 and got her own job and stuff and basically lives in our house. So that was her trip to London. I think she really liked it. I just think with all the anxiety, she just really had a little bit of trouble handling it on her own. And she did FaceTime me almost every day, you know, and talk to me. And I think that helped too, to be able to see me and helped her to calm down. And of course, like I said in the last video, I had become a helicopter mom, which was awful. I kept checking on her on this app that was tracking her phone. And you know, it was just terrible how bad I was. I was checking on her like every 10 minutes. But yeah, so she did the whole London thing. She had a great time. It was totally awesome. Now, as a note, just because I wanted to let you guys know, so my son, who is 16, is having some medical issues. He is autistic. And unfortunately, though, he doesn't get sick very often with like the cold or the flu. When he does have medical issues, he basically goes all out. So because of that, we have canceled our trip that we were going to take in April. First, because he couldn't come, because he wasn't going to have all of his testing done and stuff until after that. And then, you know, we just decided we didn't know what was going on and how much, you know, this was all gonna end up taking to resolve or whatever. So we've ended up canceling our trip to Disney in April. We are going to take hopefully some local trips and maybe like some weekend trips. I'd love to go take the kids to Branson, or I'd love to go to Dollywood, and things like that. So there will be some more trips coming up. And then of course, a couple of my family members are going to be taking trips hopefully too. So I'll be talking about those. The next video, I will be talking about our trip to Chicago that we did at Christmas time in 2021. I know that's kind of going into the past, but it's still relevant for today. Most of the stuff that we did, you can still do today at Christmas time. So I will be talking about the that trip to Chicago. It was a great trip. We had a good time. And we did more than just Chicago. We spent a little bit of time in Gurnee and Six Flags as well. So you guys can hopefully join us next week for that. Also, I am going to try to put up a Lego video. I am building the Rivendell Lord of the Rings Lego right now. It's taking me a little bit longer than it usually does because of a bunch of things have been going on, and with work and stuff, I just haven't had as much time to spend on it as I usually do. But if you are interested in the Lego and how the Rivendell turned out and my kind of review of it, of how it was to build it and things like that, then I'll be putting that video out hopefully pretty soon. So that's just kind of another thing that I wanted to get started in as far as for this channel. I love doing Legos. I've been building them now for about 1.5 years. It's something I started because it's great for me to kind of help settle down after being in work. I like to build them at night after dinner and before I go to bed. Just helps kind of relax my mind and not have to think about anything but building the Lego. So I usually only do the Legos that are for like 18 and up. I have done some of the smaller ones, but recently I had to get rid of a lot of them because we're just running out of room. So I've had to kind of consolidate down to the bigger ones that I want that go with the rooms of my house. So I have some Harry Potter ones and some Star Wars ones and just some Disney ones. The Lord of the Rings Rivendell I got because I just think it's a really beautiful build, and I hope it's as pretty as it looks, you know, in the pictures in real life. And so I got room for that now since I've gotten rid of a lot of the other ones. So that will be coming up pretty soon. So if you guys are interested in that, stay tuned. Like and subscribe, and then you'll see when that comes up. And if you are going to be taking any trips anytime soon and you need some advice or need help, just contact us and we'll be happy to help you. I will put our website link in the description below, and you can go in there and check things out. I also do a blog on there as well, although I don't write in that as often. So if you want to check that out, you can. But other than that, I hope you all have a fantastic week, and I hope that you all are able to plan your own trips if you want to plan some, and enjoy the rest of your time and have a great day. Bye.
Action.